Price and welcome to Cuppa TV. On today's show, I'm joined by many guests, but my first guest today is Stephanie Adlington, singer-songwriter and jazz singer extraordinaire. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining on Cuppa TV.
Thank you. I'm so excited you guys are back.
Oh, it's just wonderful. Now, we first met when we came over earlier this year.
Yes.
And I briefly saw you then, but so much has been going on.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
first of all, you came in May, which you had the lovely summer, and now we're here in autumn, so we're going into winter, but autumn's a beautiful time of year.
And we've had such amazing weather since we've been here.
It's been nice.
And the trees, the fall, actually the fall as you call it, it's just been incredible.
Yeah.
But it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
So Stephanie, tell me what you've been doing. First of all, let's start at the very beginning. How did you start your musical career?
Oh my gosh. I had a little record player growing up, and I was always playing records and singing along, and I kind of started singing before I could talk. And I would just sit around and play records and sing, and just that was my playtime. And I just started doing that, and it was something that always kind of stayed with me. And in the 4th grade, we were doing a Miss Springs show, a little show she was putting on, and we were singing My Heart Belongs to Daddy. And I kind of hit a note that I didn't know was, different, and everyone just stopped and looked at me, and I felt very strange. And she said, "No, continue." So I did, and everyone went, "Oh, Steffi sings."
Wow. Did your parents sing at all?
No, not at all.
Is that so? Where do you think it came from?
No idea.
Any of the relations any further down the line?
Not that I know of. No, my parents both love music, so we grew up with music all the time. My dad was a big kind of 50s, 60s influence, loves the Stones, loves all that, but my mom also loved a lot of musicals and a lot of Julie Andrews and Judy Garland, and so we grew up kind of with both sides of the spectrum with music, so it was wonderful to kind of have that, growing
background,
up.
Yes, absolutely. And your sound is very unique.
Thank you.
It's very unique. I mean, we're going to talk about your album because obviously you've just released that, but it's a very unique sound. Was that on purpose? Did you want to be different?
Well, not really. I started out, first of all, I was a classical soprano, so I went to the Royal Academy of Music, so that's kind of where I started.
Wow.
And I loved classical music, but I still wanted to do a little bit of musical theater and kind of use the soprano voice for that. But then after I graduated, I thought, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So I moved to Nashville and started changing my voice around, and it went from this octave to kind of this octave. And so I realized a lot of the songs that I used to sing classically, I could sing now in a jazz style. It's the same thing, just different range. And instead of being Julie Andrews now, I wanted to be, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
and I just kind of started with that, but then I'm very Southern, and I love Southern literature, and I love Southern culture and blues and jazz and blues, really that's completely American. That's really one of the only things that we have contributed to society.
So welcome to the blues.
Exactly.
But it's very, and here in Nashville, I mean, there's a very different genres of music, but it's known for its country, but it's not just that, is it?
Oh my gosh, no, it's Music City, so we really have everything. And what I love about it are the musicians here play everything as well. So they might be on the road with a country act, but they really want to play jazz. So when you can grab them in between shows, or when you start gigging or collaborating, there's really no rehearsal. I mean, you get together, you make music, it's live, it's a moment, and then you all go home and then do it again next week. And it's wonderful to be able to play with players that have that ability. You don't have to worry about them. And then it's not so contrived and rehearsed that you can't just really live the moment and just realize that what making music is. And I'm worried that live music is kind of taking a back seat.
Do you think that? Do you think that's how it's going at the moment?
I do. A lot of venues, one of my favorite jazz venues that was here, I sang at for a long time, closed, and so they were going to reopen and they didn't, and so I really hope the live aspect doesn't leave, because the live aspect is what creates the sound and creates the vibe and gives you a moment. So instead of sitting there and recording it from your little iPhone so you can take it away, just live the moment, live what that memory is, and then see what makes you feel.
When you say they've closed, is it because there's no interest, or is it just because...
I really don't know. This city is growing tremendously, which is wonderful, but at the same time, we don't want to lose what we had. So there's that balance of wanting to grow and to become bigger and better, but also don't let the progress take away from what Nashville was basically based on, which was publishing and music back in the day, and the little clubs along the way where people got started.
I mean, we've got some very famous clubs here. Tootsie's, of course, is a famous club, and we've got the Ryman Auditorium, and of course the Grand Ole Opry. Do you feel that the bigger ones are taking, things away from the littler clubs, or do you think there's just a equal balance?
I think there's an equal balance. The Ryman was my very first job in town. I don't know if you knew this or not, but when I first moved here, I was a tour guide and an usher at the Ryman. And so, I was always backstage, and this was the first time in my life I was kind of forced to be front of house. And it was devastating a little bit, from a pride point of view, because you can't even get backstage.
Yes.
But at the same time, I literally for 2 years witnessed every show that came to town, every genre of music, and it was phenomenal. I thought I knew a lot graduating school. It's like, oh, I had my degrees. But I realized I knew nothing.
And did that inspire you to carry on doing what you're doing now?
And all these different genres really started. I think that's how I'm kind of what I am now. People say, what do you do? Well, I'm a little bluesy, I'm a little jazzy, I'm a little Americana, definitely in lyric. What does that create? I don't know. And I definitely want this kind of southern, dark, haunted vibe, which is why I went to Savannah, Georgia, and had the photo shoot for the EP.
Yes,
because it has that definite, the Spanish moss and the trees and the southern square and Bonaventure Cemetery. It was just this beautiful kind of haunted southern vibe to it that I really wanted to bring into the music and have it as a visual as well.
So you've just released your first EP.
Yes.
So that's very exciting.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
So a lot of hard work, doesn't it, goes into making this. So of course you start at the beginning. How did that come about?
Oh my gosh, writing the songs is really where it started, and then trying.
Do you write all your own songs?
I do. Now on this, there's 4 originals and 1 cover. But yeah, I do try to write a lot, and I'm trying to write in the style of what I love, which is the old standard, but have it be new and fresh. So my goal is to have somebody listen to it and go, oh, who used to sing that? And well, no one, me. I sing that.
I sing that. It's my song.
But Billie Holiday could have, which would have been wonderful to hear.
And when you're writing, Stephanie, do you always sort of write with that sort of jazz feel in your head? Is that the sort of, or do you just write and see how it's going to turn out, or are you going to put yourself in that jazz genre of music?
I think I'm always in the jazz genre. I think it's always in my head. It's in my being.
But it is a very deep Americana sound, and obviously I've heard it, and it's a lovely tone to your to your voice and to the sound of it as well. So rather unusual actually here in Nashville, because again there is very, very varied genres of music, but I haven't heard one quite like yours.
Thank you so much.
Again, that's a good thing though, isn't it, for you?
I hope so. But then a lot of people say, well, who do you sound like? And I don't know who I sound like. So they try to categorize you so they know what to do with you. Yes. But at the same time, I feel like, well, there's already 10 of them. Can't we do something different? But then they don't know what to do with it.
It's interesting you say that, because another singer-songwriter we were talking to said exactly the same thing. I suppose you have to go in some kind of genre, because then they know where to put you. But sometimes when you're not quite fitting, it's a bit difficult, isn't it? I should imagine.
And I think it's more exciting, because that's the type of music I gravitate towards, something that's different and interesting, and what can I learn from that, and what do I take away? And because it doesn't sound like everything else. What is their inspiration? How did they come up with that?
So how did you go about writing it? So when did you start writing the songs?
Oh, goodness, a long time. It basically took about 2 years to get to this point, because I'm funding the whole thing. So when you're doing that, you have to kind of go in stages and then pick your people that you want to work with and hope they want to come on board. But it really started with the music. I think the first song I had written was Willow Sway. And as soon as I wrote that, I knew the feel. I had been looking for this, it had been in my head, and how do you now bring that from here to here, which is really difficult. And as soon as that song happened, I thought, okay, this is it. Now I need to keep everything in this vein, because this is what I really want to, contribute. And then from there, I read a book called, I actually got it from my father. It was called Driving with the Devil, The History of NASCAR, because my dad's a NASCAR fan. And I was bored one day, and I picked the book up. Well, the entire history of NASCAR was the bootlegger. And so I'm reading this book like, oh my gosh, these men are so amazing. I have to write a song about this, because it's also the time period that I love, Prohibition and that kind of the vintage vibe of what was going on musically and culturally and fashion-wise. And I just love that whole scene. So I thought, I have to write about this amazing man. So that's where Bootlegger's Blues came from. And Sugar, which is the song that you like.
I like that
it's kind of about the battle of good and evil, which is basically all Southern Gothic literature. And what happens to your soul in the process.
It's very, very deep, very meaningful songs.
Thank you.
Stephanie. Again, was that on purpose? Did you want to?
I think that's just me.
Just you, just the way you write.
Everything. I'm never just here.
It's okay. You're a creative. You're allowed to do that.
It can never just be a pillow.
That's right. You have to be a decorated pillow. But now tell us about. So you went to, where did you go for your shoot to feel this amazing?
Well, Savannah, Georgia. So it was wonderful. Tracy Fitzgerald was the photographer on that, and he was going to be in Savannah anyway. And he said, if you want to come down, because it really had the whole vibe of what I wanted. And we went and spent about 2 days. And just went everywhere. We went to Bonaventure Cemetery, we went to the square, we went to the house, Mercer House, which was Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, one of my favorite books.
Oh, wow.
And took pictures kind of all around, and I just soaked up the energy of that city, and it was just beautiful. And it was in the summertime, it was like July, and it was so hot, but I wanted that because that's really the feel of the music
steamy,
as well.
The sort of humidity, and I mean, you had some great shots.
Thank you.
Obviously, that's where your album covers come from, and it's self-titled.
Yes,
your album.
it is.
So, was it all that you expected it to be?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really proud of it, which is the most exciting thing, I think. You know, we all write songs and we all demo it and we do this, and sometimes it's like, well, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, or it didn't quite have that. But this really turned out to have the vibe that I wanted, and the darkness. And I'm really glad that you can relate to it, because, you know, forever you think about this and will anyone else understand it or gravitate toward it or even like it. And so far the response I'm getting is kind of what you're saying. It's different, which then makes people stop and think about it and then want to listen. And if you can get them to listen a couple times, hopefully then they're going to, you know, really enjoy it and share it with other people.
Now, you've been doing shows.
Yes.
So now are you going to be singing some of your songs on those shows?
Yes, always.
Fantastic.
Yes. So a lot of the shows I'm doing right now are more jazz based. So I'm doing, you know, a lot of jazz standards and then putting my material in with it, but I'm also trying to find jazz standards that fit my material, so it becomes more of a collaborative event rather than just, oh, this song, this song, this song. Everything kind of fits together lyrically, stylistically, you know.
Yeah. And do you work with the same musicians when you go around?
I try.
Do you try to do that?
But this town is difficult because there's always a gig going on. So
we're finding that out.
I know. So you've got to find players that, well, first of all, it's got to be people you really admire and respect, and that are just wonderful people in general, and that's a lot of people in town. And then, you know, hope that they're going to be free, and if they're not, then, you know, you kind of go to the next one and the next one and the next one. But, you know, your number 10 guy is just as good as your number 1 guy here. That's one thing that we're very blessed with. So.
And do you love performing live?
Oh, I love it. I love it. You just never know what's going to happen. And it's sometimes, you know, you do something and you create something that, oh, that was really interesting, I want to remember that. And other times it goes completely horrible and you're like, oh, let's just forget that ever happened. Thank God that was a moment, and hopefully no one recorded it.
And where would you like to play in Nashville, Tennessee, or anywhere in the States? Is there anywhere you particularly like to play?
Gosh, I really want to do jazz festivals. I think the jazz festivals would definitely bring in, you know, that audience, plus be able to branch it out, because a lot of the festivals now are including different genres within that, but it's still kind of, that's the main core. So I really want to start doing some of that type of thing all over the place. I don't care where it is. I just want to go.
Are you going to come to the UK?
Yes.
We've heard it. She's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out.
Oh, and I'm so excited because I haven't been back for so long, so it's going to be wonderful to come and reconnect with friends and reconnect with the culture. And
that would be great. Now, Birmingham have a jazz festival, so you're hoping to showcase there, aren't you?
Yes, so and the A&R company I'm working with are, you know, we're going to be working with that. So it's going to be amazing to get up there and to just to be back again.
And where was the last time you were in the UK?
Oh, late 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
But all my friends, that's the wonderful thing about Facebook and email. I'm still
social
in touch.
media, you can still keep in touch with people, can't you?
Absolutely.
And how do you see your future, Stephanie? What would you like to do?
I want to perform, I want to write, I want to record, I want to continue to create, and I call myself the Siren of the South, because I really want to bring that into the picture. So it's not so much just the music, but it's the culture, it's the literature, it's the history, trying to bring all that into this package, so that way when people listen to it, not only with the bootlegger, if someone gets interested in, oh, well that's an interesting story, well, what's the history of that? Because I'm also an educator, so, you know, that's kind of my day job. I'm a voice teacher and I'm a university professor, so it's one of those things to really bring education into what you're doing, because I feel like, you know, you have a platform, you should teach something as well as just, you know, bringing something
almost
to the
give back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you enjoy that?
I love that. I love it very much, you know, and just being able to share what I like with other people, and then when people gravitate towards that, or then they teach me something I didn't know, then we get all excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful thing listening to you. Obviously, you've got the passion.
Thank you.
Know, it's great. Is there any one particular place in the world that you'd love to perform?
New Orleans.
Really?
Yes, I really want to go to New Orleans. Harry Connick Jr. is one of my absolute favorite performers.
He's
singers.
a great singer, actor,
oh my gosh,
songwriter,
absolutely.
very
everything.
talented man.
Yes, and you know, he's one that's really brought, you know, the jazz genre back to life.
Yeah.
I think it was the first time I heard him was the When Harry Met Sally soundtrack, and all of those songs were really starting to come back again, and I credit him for that. Because it was kind of a lull there, you know, it really wasn't happening.
Do you feel that jazz is making its sort of comeback? Because I mean, we've got very brilliant clubs in
Yes.
the UK. Of course, Ronnie Scott's springs to
Oh
mind.
my gosh, that's another venue I would love to play.
That's a great venue for jazz. Is there places like that all over the world probably that you'd like to perform at?
Oh my gosh. Well, again, the history of just being there, you know, Birdland in New York and different places like that. And Ronnie Scott's, it's so funny. When I was a student and I would always walk by it, you kind of just go and you look inside and you see what's happening, but I never went in.
One day you might be performing there. That would be wonderful.
I know.
Well, Stephanie, it's been absolutely wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on Cuppa TV.
Thank you.
And look forward to seeing you back in the UK.
Yes, and I can't wait till you come back again.
Brilliant, lovely, thank you. So that's it, we're going to take a quick break, but stay with me and come back and join me in just a minute. Welcome back to Cuppa TV. I'm now joined by Michael Cole, and we're here in Gray's-on-Main in Franklin, Tennessee. And Michael is the owner, director, the main man here in one of the main places on the high street. So welcome to Cuppa TV, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for
So
inviting
Michael, let's talk about the history of this place, because it has a real history, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am. The Gray's-on-Main started in the late 1800s, and it was one of the main centers of hospitality. It was a pharmacy from 1926 all the way to 1996, and it kept its history. But once the downtown started becoming, the malls started taking away from the business, so downtown everybody moved away from downtowns, but it became vacant in 2002, and after about 10 years of being vacant, I kept the previous owner. I kept trying to talk to him about it and gave him, the vision that I had, and he's bought in, and we bought it, and we turned it into a restaurant. It's 3 floors. We've got a music venue, a full restaurant, and a members only.
Yes.
3rd floor, which is
where we are now. Mm-hmm. And the musical element, was that quite important to you?
It was. I had a music venue before, and I love the music. The Americana Triangle, Nashville's. We've got plenty of great artists. So.
And one of the guests that was on actually just earlier today is Stephanie, who's played here.
Oh,
Stephanie
okay.
Adlington.
Oh,
so yeah, she played here. Yes, cool. That's right. So
nice.
it's a wonderful place though to come to Franklin, because there is a real sense of history here in the town. Is that important to you as a business?
It is. Family is always important to us. Me and my family, and the family of Franklin. There's a lot of history, in the South, and Franklin's part of that also, and the music ties right into that. With, I'm from Muscle Shoals, which is another hot spot. It's in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So Muscle Shoals was the recording capital of the world in the 70s with the Rolling Stones and the Allman Brothers and Aretha Franklin and all kinds.
So it's music is in your blood then, Michael?
It is.
Yeah, that's it. And when people come here, what do you do? Do you just do you feel that they love to come here, and do they return when they come here? What's been the feedback for you here?
I would, depending on the night and the day, the weekends more geared toward the music. During the day, I think it's just they come in and maybe their family used to work here, or their granddad or their family member would work here as a clerk or a pharmacist, and like I said, there's not a day it goes by their family hasn't come in.
And I mean, going back to what you were saying about the history, so it's a pharmacy before, and then from a pharmacy, what did it become after that, Michael? Did it remain derelict for a while?
It did. One of the daughters of the pharmacist, she turned it into a little gift shop, but that lasted a couple of years, and then they closed it down.
Because it's all brick, and you've kept it very. Did you try, to keep it authentic?
I did. Second and third floor was never used. It was pretty dilapidated and almost falling in. And then I came in and we restored it and took everything out and put everything back in and cleaned the brick.
Yeah.
Essentially one brick at a time, because it was.
Is that how you did it?
Yes.
Yeah. And the food here I've actually tried what was it?
Fried green.
That's it. Fried green tomatoes I've had when I'm here again, and crab cakes, which again was wonderful. Again, that's a dish we don't often see that in the UK. Is that a typical sort of?
I think that's fairly new. We've been doing fried green tomatoes for 2 years, and it's a Southern tradition. Fried green tomatoes, and we thought we'd put a twist to it because we like seafood, or me and my wife do.
So you kind of, the menus are really an extension of what you like.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we've recently just had the Pumpkin Fest, which is here at the weekend. So again, that was very traditional. There was thousands of people. I don't know how many people come to that.
I think it's like 80,000 in one day.
Incredible. And again, so many. There were so many crafts people there, craftsmen, different glass makers and wood carpenters and things like that. Again, seems to be quite prominent here.
There's the festivals. I guess there's maybe a half a dozen or so a year, and they're all geared toward, the Pumpkin Fest is for October, but there's Main Street Fest. We have a jazz fest. We have a beer fest and a wine fest. So every time when we can get a festival, we'll have it. So.
And the musical artists that you've had here, have you had any UK artists come here or any international artists?
Well, I have one more of a rock band coming in from
like
the
that.
UK.
Yeah. Who are they?
They're called Red Money.
Oh, right, excellent.
I believe they're from the UK. They're coming in next month.
Yeah.
And I think they're coming to record in Nashville.
Yeah.
So that's
again. Now we've been doing obviously some filming in Nashville, and it's the music city of the world. That's what it's known as. Is it important for you as well, Michael, Nashville? Or do you feel that's an important place for people to come and do their music?
I think it's the melting pot. I think it's not so much country anymore as a melting pot of all genres of music, and I like the Americana side of it. I like country, but I also like Americana, which is jazz, blues, soul, just more traditional, down road, southern roots kind of music.
And bluegrass and blues.
Bluegrass is everything.
That seems to be the music has that come from Tennessee. What's the music of Tennessee? Is it bluegrass or blues, or is there not really a?
I think it's just a mixture of, the time and the day of from the earlier 1900s to now. The bluegrass, had rockabilly when, to me, the rockabilly was maybe 40s, 50s with Elvis, and, Elvis was just down the street in Memphis, and in Mississippi's within a couple hours drive. So you got, the blues from Mississippi and Memphis, Muscle Shoals, which is more of the southern rock, with Allman Brothers and, the Rolling Stones. In Tennessee had the true country all the way from the early Ryman, all the Grand Ole Opry to now.
Yeah.
And it's the country is sort of, it's not as, I can see the different types of country from the last 100 years, and it's changed to what the masses want to hear.
And do you think that, as a businessman here in Franklin, have you got to be innovative to get people to come to your restaurant? How do you get people to come to your restaurant, Michael?
It's mostly word of mouth.
Yeah.
We never advertise. It's locals, and we just continuously word of mouth.
And what about the future? Do you see the future of Franklin growing? I mean, it seems to be a growing town. So is it a growing town?
Well, there's only a couple blocks, so it's only so far it can go. But the surrounding area, Nashville's going to keep growing larger and larger, which we're on the south side of Nashville. But I see Nashville growing and prospering. So.
Yes, I mean, since the TV series, because we've got the television series
That's
Nashville,
yes,
has that brought more people to to come to it? Yes.
They actually, some of the guys come in here for dinner, but they do play part of the shows in different venues. They do go around and film part of the show at different venues. The Bluebird's probably one of the main ones.
Yeah, the Bluebird Cafe. Yeah, have they filmed here with you?
No, they come here to eat.
They're just.
But I do get a lot of those guys.
Yes, yeah. But that's good they come here though to see you, which is great.
So.
And I mean, what's some personal favourite of yours that you've had here? That's a musical artist that you've had here. Is there a favourite?
I probably do have my favorite. I've got the local artists. I've got several local artists that I love, and we keep bringing back. Stephanie's my best first jazz. She's one of the best.
Yes, so. They call her the Siren of the South. Don't
they do.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
She's a great person.
And again, it's that's a different genre of music here, because you're used to thinking, back home the viewers might think it's just all country.
Oh no.
But again, as you've just said, and many of the other guests that we've had have said, it's totally different.
Yeah, we do.
Genres
jazz is probably 25% of it, and then the Americana, which encompasses a lot of the different, hillbilly to bluegrass to folk.
Yeah.
I like the folk art, or the artists that are more of the folky, just raspy kind of.
Yeah. And how do you see the music industry, Michael? Because obviously you're into music. You've got this wonderful place here in Franklin. Have you seen a change? How do you see it in the future?
I think there's a lot coming in to record and bring what they have and try to take their shot at Nashville and see, but it's not always country. It's always something different. And I think a lot of the movements come from out west to Nashville because of just what we have, the hospitality that we offer in the South. And I think that's a key part of it, keeping real.
Keeping that roots. Do you think as things grow and more people come in and things change and things evolve, of course they do naturally, do you think that's always going to be something, the Southern hospitality, the family, do you think that's always in your roots and that will remain?
It will, yes ma'am.
Yeah, that's great. And tell us about any exciting projects that you're going to be doing, or anything that you're going to be doing in the future, or between now and Christmas. Have you got anything coming up you want to share with us?
Running a restaurant.
Yes.
It's like a child.
Yes, that's right.
We're adding a couple more bars to our first floor, and a bar on our stage. So it's other than that, we're always looking for the next music venue.
Yes.
This is more of a restaurant with a music venue.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a music venue and then the restaurant.
Oh yes.
So
it's
the main core is the music, and which weekends the music is the main emphasis at Greg's.
Are you musical yourself?
Not currently. It's been a while. So.
Yeah. Do you play a musical instrument at all? Yeah. What do you play?
It was a guitar.
Guitar. Yeah. That's it. I don't think there's anybody I haven't met in Nashville that doesn't play a musical instrument.
We all play it. Yeah.
All play something. So, and the fiddle has been proven very popular as well.
I never played
which is great.
That's an interesting instrument.
Lovely. Well, it's been so fascinating to talk to you. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking time out. Thank you so much. So that's it. Stay with me. We're just going to take a quick break, but come back and join me in just a minute. My final guest today is a wonderful man, Dan Hayes, who's Executive Director of the most amazing theatre that we're in now. It's called the Franklin Theatre here in Franklin, Tennessee. So Dan, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on Cuppa TV.
Thank you for being with us.
It's just so wonderful. We've got this wonderful theatre behind us, but the history here is just amazing, Dan. So first of all, let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved with the Franklin Theatre?
Well, my wife and I live here in Franklin and have for, I guess, about 13 or 14 years now. And we're patrons, would come and enjoy movies and other activities that would be hosted here. And I was in the middle of a transition from my former career in the music business, and they were looking for someone to help with the operations and managing the theater and bringing in talent and doing the sorts of things that we do. And I was at a point in my life where this was a great opportunity, so I was lucky to be chosen to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, it is the history here is quite unique, isn't it, Franklin? So tell us a little bit about the theatre itself.
Well, this is an old movie house that was built in the middle of the Depression in 1937, and for, I guess, 70 years or thereabouts until 2007, it was just that. This was the place we came to see that new technology called moving pictures. And it was built originally at a cost of about $14,000 in the middle of the Depression, which was quite a bit of money at the time, of course.
Yes.
Just to keep the young people here who wanted to go seeing a movie. At that time, they had to go all the way to Nashville to do it, which is about 20 miles away. A big trip at the time. And so we had our own movie house, and for 70 years, it was a great staple for the community, a place where we could come and enjoy films and have other sorts of activities, and kind of a unique, kind of a kitschy kind of a place in the latter years had gotten to the point where it was to the point of disrepair, if you will, that it had a lot of character because of that.
Yes.
It wasn't just a place that you didn't want to be. You wanted to be here because it was kind of fun and a little bit different than most of the movie houses that you might normally go to. But as is the case with many historic theaters here in America, they have a hard time making it as single screen houses because we have this competition usually out on the edge of town in these large multi-screen theaters that usually get the first run movies. So you have to find your own niche. And this one was no different. It was struggling to make it, and as rents went up and the downtown area of Franklin blossomed to the point that people could actually pay more in rent for the theater really got to the point where it couldn't make it just doing that. In the movie business, we're fond of saying that you're really not in the movie business, you're in the popcorn business. You show movies to get people to come and buy the concessions and things. So it closed up in 2007, and the community started kind of wringing its hands and wondering, gosh, what's going to happen to it? Will it just be another storefront or some offices or who knows what? But a group called the Heritage Foundation, which is a preservation group here in Franklin, got behind an effort to save it. And the first thought was, well, we're just going to save it and keep it as a movie house. It didn't take very long to realize that that model of just trying to keep it as a movie house was really not a viable business plan. So the vision began growing and getting bigger and different and changing, and eventually came around to the idea that what we really needed and what we could make a success of was to turn it into a world-class music venue, a very intimate setting with very high quality production values, bringing in national and internationally known touring artists to perform on stage here, live music concerts and such. That effort and that vision took about 4 years to kind of evolve. And about $9 million later, and through a construction project, we actually totally rebuilt the theater. The only thing that's left of the original building is the outside wall. Even the marquee on Main Street, we had reinvented to mimic and look like the original marquee that was on the theater back in 1937. Inside the theater is all new. Everything's been totally rebuilt. And we're fond of saying that it looks more 1937 now than it did in 1937. In 37, it was built essentially as a box. This is just a room where you can go and watch theater. There was no architectural significance to it. But today, we've reinvented it in a style that gives you a sense of the period of the 1930s, kind of that Art Deco feel.
Yeah, it's very Art Deco, isn't it? Yeah.
And but most importantly, when we designed the room, acoustics in the room were paramount. We wanted it to be the equivalent of a recording studio. So the way the architecture is configured, from soft surfaces on the wall and rounded and padded surfaces, and the engineers and people created a space where you could have a very unique listening environment to enjoy live performances in. So that's what we are today.
I mean, it is. You feel. I mean, we're sitting on the stage today, and I mean, the acoustics. You can see that, and just feel that they're going to be really good. And the sort of artists that you have, Dan, what kind of artists come here?
Well, there's a variety of genres. Our hope is to not just be, say, a country music place or a rock and roll club. We do all of that and more, from jazz to bluegrass to folk to Cajun music to blues and soul, and just think of every genre you can imagine, from chamber orchestras to a folk duo or singer-songwriters on stage. We book all of those types of things. And in the 4+ years that we've been reopened, we've had some of the world's most renowned talents in here, from the likes of Sheryl Crow to Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers to the Judds, who are neighbors of ours, and the list goes on. And we'll produce probably around 75 to 100 concerts per year that we host. And then we do a number of other events featuring those kinds of talents for charity events and fundraisers for local nonprofits and worthy causes.
Yeah, and I mean, the actual layout of the theatre, how many does the theatre seat, Dan? How many people?
We have 300 seats roughly. Depends on how we configure a few things. But it's a very intimate environment. It feels like you're having a living room concert with some of the most renowned talents in the world.
Was that important to you? Did you want to keep
Absolutely.
that intimacy?
Absolutely.
Nice. And you have a private balcony as well, don't you?
We do,
So
yes.
there's a bit of history behind that as well, isn't there? So
There
tell
is.
us about that.
Yeah, the balcony in the theater, when the theater was first built, you essentially had to have a balcony because of segregation here in the States. And after the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s and into the 70s, that stipulation no longer applied, and the balcony had gone away. They boarded it up and put a flat floor in it to create some other space, storage and office space and what have you. But when we rebuilt the theater, we really wanted to make it a place that was special, not a place that you wanted to shunt people off to. This should be a place that you want to be in. This is going to be a special place. So our balcony now is like its own little skybox. Only 44 seats up there, and they have their own private lounge and private restrooms up there, and the seats are just a little nicer, a little cushier to be able to enjoy a performance. And for me, they're my favorite seats in the house.
Yes, because you get a really big view of the whole stage and what's going on.
Yeah, and you get to look kind of down on the stage, and you're still close enough that you feel like you're just right there, but you're getting a different vantage point on the stage, which to me is always an important part of the night.
And then the seats at the front, you've got the tables and chairs. So again, why did you do that? Was because obviously in theatres in England we don't have that. It's just seats all the way.
Seats all the way to the front.
So why did you have that?
Well, a couple of reasons really. One of them is it gives us some flexibility in front of the stage. For example, we had the Glenn Miller Orchestra here last year for New Year's Eve, and we can take those tables out and turn it into a dance floor.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to do a little swing dancing, you can. But it provides, I think, a unique setting to be able not just to enjoy the show, but to also enjoy your company, to be able to gather around a table and have a drink or some food, and to get to know your neighbor and the person who you're having an evening with. So you can
have food, you can have dinner here. So it's a really intimate atmosphere then.
It is, yeah. And the cabaret section also gives us a lot of flexibility. We work with a number of people that do broadcast productions here, or they may be recording their next video project. We've done a couple of tapings with the Nashville television show and some other productions that happen here, and that space gives us the flexibility to be able to position cameras and to do production work that you need right in front of the stage, instead of it being kind of let's build platforms or do something else to be able to take care of those people.
And what's the feedback been from the customers that come here? What do they think about the theatre?
Well, it's a very special place. It's a very beloved tradition here in Franklin to be able to enjoy the theater. But certainly since we've been reopened and been doing shows and things, we ask our customers all the time, how was your experience, and ask them in a way that gives them the ability to anonymously tell us if they didn't like it.
Yes.
Tell us the truth. And thus far, we've really gotten astounding ratings from people that recommend us to others. I think the last one we saw was like 98%, over 98% of the people just rated things just extraordinary.
And what do they like about it? What's the thing they like about it the most?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is certainly the talent and whatever we're presenting, the programming that we do here. We pay very close attention to what they're telling us that they want to see and what they enjoy. So that's easy if you're giving them what you want.
Absolutely, yes.
Chances of getting favorable reviews is good.
But it is important though, isn't it, to listen to your customers and find out exactly what they want, because it might not be necessarily how you saw it going, but you obviously do that very well, because as you say, the experience is usually very, very good for people. Yeah,
and the other part I think is that when you're creating a space like the Franklin Theater, you want to make a room feel comfortable. It's a warm environment. It feels like I'm just sitting in a natural place, that this is where I really want to be for a show. And then the fact that it's intimate, and you're not just one of 10,000 people watching a show, you're one of 300 people, is that you get to know those people and get to enjoy their company. So it's a relationship between what's happening on stage and the audience. It's a relationship between the audience and other audience members. And for performers on stage, they get to feel what's going on in the audience, and that gets reflected back in their performance if they really feel like they're touching people. That's why you perform. That's why you want to do what you do, is I want to touch people emotionally. And in a room like this, as intimate as it is, you really can feel that. Whereas you may not be able to feel that as well in a large stadium show or a much larger venue. So we have the production capabilities here to make them look good and sound good on stage, which a lot of smaller theaters don't always have that luxury. We've been blessed with enough resources to be able to do it well, and they trust us to stage their shows, the performers do, and that if they feel comfortable on stage and the audience is giving back to them, then it creates a really special evening, a great experience for people.
And then what about, are there any theatres like this in America that you know of, Dan? Is there any other theatres very similar to the Franklin
Well, there are
old small theatres?
Yeah, I would say most every town in America has an old historic theater of some size, shape, or form. Many of them struggle. Many of them have a hard time keeping up and making ends meet financially and bringing in the level of talent. It takes a lot of risk to do what we do.
Why is that? Why do you say that? Why is it risky?
Well, you're bringing in nationally known talent that you're going to pay a premium to, bring them in, and you hope that, by the time you spread that cost and your production costs and everything else that you're doing over the course of just 300 seats, it can be an expensive ticket for people to be able to come and enjoy this. And I tell my board all the time, it's kind of like betting on horse races. You're going to put your money down. We think this is going to work, and we're going to book this talent and confirm it.
But there's no guarantee, really.
There's no guarantee on that night. If we've got a full house and there's a room full of people here to enjoy it, then it's been successful. If you fall 100 seats short, then you're probably not going to make any money.
So how does the theatre make money, Dan? Do you have a scheme? How does it work? Is it a charity? Or tell us about that.
Well, the Franklin Theatre is a non-profit, meaning that we're here for the community's good. We're not here to make a profit, though we have to have money left over at the end of the year. You can't just continually run yourself in the red, so to speak. But for us, the biggest part of what we do comes from ticket sales. And people patronizing and saying, yes, I want to come and enjoy what it is that you're putting on stage. So that's a big part of it. We also have to raise a little bit of money. We have some corporate donors and folks that help underwrite what we do for a modest amount of exposure that they may get from what they do. But most of the reason they do it is because they believe in what we do, and they believe in what we bring back to the community, the cultural impact that we have. Nice. So there's money that we have to raise in addition to ticket sales, and then there's other events that we may host here, from corporate events to educational offerings and things that happen during the day that may not be public events that are ticketed, and those things bring in extra dollars for us too.
Yes, absolutely. Right. I mean, and Franklin is a very historical town, isn't it? So again, just tell us a little bit about the history of the town itself.
Well, Franklin was originally founded in the late 1700s, and I think most notably was the site of a significant Civil War battle, the Battle of Franklin, which was one of the late battles that, as they've characterized it, I believe they call it the last gasp of the Confederacy, kind of a last attempt to really kind of keep the battle going and to possibly win the war. But it was not a good battle for the South. It was one that they lost desperately, which that was in November of 1864. And by the next spring, the war was over. So it was at the tail end of the war, and that was really a defining moment for the town. There have been many other historic things that have happened here over the years, but that was a very important one.
Because there is a sense of history here in Franklin, there's no doubt about it, and that's quite unusual, isn't it, for America to have quite a lot of history in one place. And again, with the theatre being here as well, is it important for you for the future? How do you see the future of the theatre, Dan?
Well, we want to continue doing what we're doing, and that is create great experiences that touch people when they come here. We'd love to have at some point a broadcast production of some size, shape, or form that emanates from this stage. that would influence not just folks in the seats here, but people all over the world. And we're not quite sure what theme that would be, or what program that might involve.
It's wonderful you're going to be on Cuppa TV, because our viewers in the UK obviously will be looking at this when it comes back and it's aired. But the future it can be uncertain, can't it, for smaller theatres?
Oh, absolutely
like
it is, yeah.
So how do you think you're going to stay ahead of the competition, really, and remain sort of someplace where not only acts and artists, musical artists want to come, but also your customers will want to come as well?
Well, it's a focus on those entities that you described, the performers and the patrons that are here, for us to treat them just really, really well, to do it in a way that they want to come back, and that they feel like this is a place that I can have a special time and a special experience with art, with music, with whatever's happening on stage, and continue to do it in a first-class way that gives them something that most other places may not be able to, in this size of an environment and this quality of an environment.
And I mean, you've got a wonderful team here, haven't you? But is it a small team that works with you?
It is, yeah. I mean, from our programming people to marketing and daily operations, our technical staff and ticketing, and the folks who basically greet people when they come in, to handling concessions and those sorts of things. It's not a massive operation. We're not part of a big corporate team or a chain of theaters. It's us, but it allows us to react to what's happening on the spot, as opposed to listening to someone else in a different city somewhere.
Yes, that's right. And you can react then and put on things that you want to do, as opposed to maybe being told that you have to do certain things.
That work here. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So what acts have you got coming up, just to finish off, Dan? What acts have you got coming up that people, and maybe, you never know, there were some viewers that might be coming over to Tennessee, might want to come and see you. So what acts have you got coming up between now and Christmas?
Well, between now and Christmas, I think on New Year's Eve, we're excited. We have the legendary Cab Calloway Orchestra, a big band that'll be here for New Year's Eve. We've got, I think, everyone from Exile, a legendary country group with a number of #1 hits, to Mandy Barnett, a wonderful songstress, just a fabulous voice that's coming in for the holidays.
It's a real mixture of
people, and we've got the Texas Swing Band, Asleep at the Wheel. We have the Four Freshmen. We have.
I'm going to have to come back, Dan.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely wonderful to meet you, and thank you so much for allowing us to come into the theatre, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's it for today. I'd like to thank all my guests for joining me here in Nashville, Tennessee. And right today, I'm in Franklin, of course. So it's been wonderful. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.